Hi, welcome to the final lesson of our VQ workbook number 1. This is lesson 25. Analogous. Analogous situation. It's a situation that is corresponding in some particular. That means it's similar to some other situation. So these two situations are similar or comparable. It comes from the word analogy. Analogy is a comparison of relationships or similar things. In the old SAT exams, there used to be questions that were called the analogy questions, and it looked something like this. A car is to a driver as an airplane is to what? Of course, an airplane is controlled by a pilot, so that would be the right answer. So we're seeing the analogy between the relationships of the vehicle and the manipulator and the vehicle and the manipulator. That's an analogy question. So when you think of an analogous situation, you might think of, say, a martial arts class, and that is analogous to a school classroom because you have an instructor and you have a lot of students who learn from that particular instructor. Censure. Teacher censure the student. This is to blame or criticize, to say that you've done something wrong. It is not censor, S-O-R, which we saw in censorious church groups. Censor is to cut things out and tell you not to see it and not allow you to see it. That's to censor. This censure is just criticizing. So usually open or official condemnation. When a politician is being censured by the government body, it means that the governmental body, like the Congress or some kind of assembly, is making it official. They're making an official record of the fact that they criticize some person. That's an official censure. So we might see a sentence like this. The lawyer received a letter of censure from the judge. The judge had something to say, something to criticize about it, and he wanted to make it official, so he wrote it in a letter and sent it to the lawyer. A rare censure of a senator. Senators are very high ranking people and they usually don't get censured for anything they do, but it does happen sometimes. The Senate would decide that this person has to be criticized openly, and so they would censure the senator. What does it mean? Is he going to go to jail or prison for it? No, nothing really happens. It's just something on your record. Like you get a bad mark on your school record and it stays on your transcript, or it stays on your permanent record, we say, right? And that's going to hurt your chances of getting into college later. It's basically that effect. Didactic. Didactic puzzle. That's a puzzle that has teaching and instructional goals in mind. So we're talking about puzzles like the kind you would get from your social studies class in elementary school or junior high. You get like a crossword puzzle of all the geographic locations and stuff. That puzzle is not for fun, it's intended to be instructional. So we would call that a didactic puzzle. It's related to an interesting word, autodidact. Autodidact is a self-taught person. So if you don't go to college, university, instead you read a lot of books and you learn all these, high-level things by yourself, then you are called an autodidact. Equivocal. Equivocal answer. That is ambiguous and unclear. We've seen ambiguous before and before both. So ambiguous answer is like yes or no. It's kind of unclear. Unclear. Here we have the root equi. Equi means equal, and voca, which means voice or call. Those are important. Please make note of that. So the meaning for equivocal means giving equal voice to both answers. You're giving equal weight to yes and no at the same time. So the word ambiguous may or may not be intentional. Maybe you just spoke in a very unclear manner, then you made an ambiguous answer. But equivocal implies that you're intentionally being ambiguous. Usually politicians do that. Politicians don't like to give a straightforward answer because that's whatever answer they give, there's going to be people who don't like that answer and they're going to alienate those people. And politicians don't want to alienate anybody. They want everybody to support that person when it comes election time. So they will often give equivocal answers. Haughtiness. Haughtiness of the cheerleaders. Haughtiness is the pride or arrogance, that is being haughty, the adjective. And so this is nothing to criticize, nothing against cheerleaders in general. This is only in reference to the movie stereotypes of cheerleaders. When you watch teen movies, a lot of times they show different groups of people in a high school, and the cheerleaders become a stereotype of this kind of attitude. They're the popular ones, they're the more arrogant ones, they're very cliquish, they only, hang around with themselves, and they're kind of mean to a lot of people. And that's the kind of impression we get ingrained with about what cheerleaders are. And that idea is the haughtiness of the cheerleaders we're referring to. Instigate. Instigate the people to revolt. To instigate is to urge, to start, or to provoke. And it is just like the word incite when we saw incite a riot. When you instigate, you are causing other people to do something. And here we said revolt. For incite, we said riot. Doesn't matter, it's the same idea. Violence instigated by gangs. So the gangs caused violence to happen by, arousing other people to get involved. The government has instigated an investigation into the matter. They have started it. They've put it into action. Novelty. Novelty of a new toy. That is the newness of that toy. Something new is the novelty. It's based on the root nova we saw in innovation. Nova is new. So the adjective is novel, as in the phrase a novel idea. That's a new and interesting idea. So novelty of a new toy, whenever you get a new toy, and even my dog gets a new toy, he's happy with it for a day or two, and then after that the novelty wears off and he doesn't care anymore. Profound. Profound idea. Profound means very deep, not superficial, not just on the surface, or it is very complete and thorough. A profound sigh, that would be very deep sigh, I suppose. Like it's not just a breathing issue, but something that shows a lot of grief, a lot of emotion. That would be a profound sigh. Or if you're in a profound sleep, that would be in a deep sleep. Well, generally, we are talking about things like profound insight, which is a very deep insight into an issue. Satirical. Satirical humor is mocking, and that's kind of a limited definition. There's more to it. Satirical humor is something that is using a lot of wit, irony, or sarcasm. These rhetorical devices to deliver this message, and the message is that you're going to make fun of somebody or some institution. So let's look at some examples of satire. So satire is a story that is intended to poke fun at something, to ridicule something. Animal Farm is a story about animals having a rebellion against a farmer, and this is a satire against the Russian Revolution, communism, totalitarianism, things like that. So it is not just making fun, but criticizing through this story, this creative, witty story. Gulliver's Travels is also a very important satire. It's the story of the giant regular man who goes to the land of small people, right? But it is a satire. The entire story is a satire of England and the British monarchy and how they are at war with France for years and years. There's a lot of things that Gulliver encounters in the land of Lilliputians, who are doing things in a very silly, ridiculous way, and each detail is meant to make fun of the British monarchy. How about the story of Don Quixote? That's the old man, the knight who goes, charges evil monsters, but in fact he's fighting windmills and such. The whole story is kind of a satire of this romanticization, I guess, of making romantic stories out of all the violence that's involved in the knights going around killing people for honor when it's just, a lot of slaughter for no reason, very trivial things. And that's what Don Quixote gets involved in. And I'm sure there are other layers of it, against the government and things. But this is all just very witty, a critical, commentary about society done through sarcasm and irony. Trepidation. Feel trepidation about the interview. You feel fear, nervous apprehension. You feel worried about it. So it's from the word trepid. Trepid means fear. You're timorous, like shy, timid, kind of, and you're fearful of the situation. What if you're intrepid? That means the opposite. You are fearless. An intrepid attitude means you're very brave, you're daring, audacious. So if you feel trepidation about the interview, that means you have like a job interview the next day and you're feeling nervous about it all night long. All right, congratulations. We have completed book 1. And if you have been working through these words diligently and working through the workbook, I am sure that you probably recall over 90% of the words. If you see the word, you should be able to say the phrases, and you will remember them for quite a long time. If you've done all the work correctly. And now that we're done with this, please finish your lesson. And please, after you finish that, please make sure to go to the website and take the post test and see how well you remember the words. All right, thank you very much. And I'll see you in the videos for book 2 of the vocabulary quotient workbook.